what was the first Beastie record we did on the podcast before, Adam? When we did it with Mix Master Mike.
License to Ill.
So we did License to Ill, the first record. Then, and we got Mix Master Mike. And so when Emily, who has been pushing you, you're like a code orange on the Emily Kagan scale.
That right.
Whether she's talking to your people or whatever, which we'll get into. And so when she said that you were going to be the Beastie Boys guest, I figure we're like this. I'm 45. You are.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, how old are you?
Exactly. Like the
You're 45. You're 45.
I'm like in that world. Yeah.
God damn, dude. Black don't crack, dude. You do not crack. God damn, dude. It's the funniest shit that I've ever heard. Was it when he said like it was? I think Patrice said it was like women age like bread, right? But I was like, that's more white people, dude. We go downhill quickly.
Oh yeah, and it hits in certain spots, man. It's the necks and the crow's feet. Like the necks look bad. And therefore, all the surgery. People are like painting their neck and getting surgeries so they can smooth it all out, you know?
Dude, if I had the money, I would. There was a guy that I had an acting class. I went to college with him. He was like a 5'6" actor. And he moved out to LA and he tried to start doing stand-up, annoyed the fuck out of me. And then he spent $150,000 to add 3 inches to his legs.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, you agree with that?
Hey, you know what? This is the thing.
Hit me.
He's going to feel better afterwards. And what is this really all about? You know, like I'm not in favor of anything that I would do personally. However, but if I'm 5'6" and now I'm like feeling gigantic because I'm 5'9" now.
Yeah.
Hey, money well spent. What else are you going to do with it? You going to gamble it on?
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Right.
5'9" isn't even that tall, though. 5'9", I would have gone for at least 6'3". I've been like, give me the fucking full lengthen.
No, it had to be realistic for the people to see him again, like years later, like something different. You're like, oh, man, it's just these shoes. Because if he goes to 6'2", after being 5'6", now it's like, bro, what? Like, I don't get this, man.
All right. Let me ask you a question, because I feel like you and I have been like, I just remember the first time I think meeting you. No, I just remember watching you kill. It was back you were doing, and you were talking about your teeth all the time, which was the funniest shit ever. Yeah, killing. But then I remember like the thing that really struck me was that you were managed by the same dude that managed Seinfeld, right? Is that wrong?
No, even better. It was
Take
very specific. No, it was. I mean, I don't know who managed Seinfeld for sure, so I don't think we're talking.
You had an old white dude that managed you, didn't you?
Yeah. I mean, I'll say his name,
please.
It was. I think the first time was probably Barry Katz.
Oh goddamn, dude! Man, that was it. Really?
I think
that was you with Barry.
I was in the beginning. I was, yeah.
Holy shit! For some
reason,
maybe
that's not what you're imagining.
No. Am I completely wrong? I just remember like how much heat you had on you when I first met you, and so well deserved because you're such a funny comic, and I'm so different. Like especially being out here in New York right now and watching like going up at the Cellar because LA is a different scene. New York, there's open micers that are better joke writers than the guys at the Comedy Store. You know what I mean? And it was like seeing you very early on, I think, in my career, but you didn't, and tell me if I'm wrong, like you didn't dress at all like I've been seeing you pop off lately. Like I don't know what the fuck you listen to, Sly and the Family Stone, fucking Bitches Brew. Hey. You motherfucker, you living in Bitches Brew. You are the album cover of Bitches Brew.
You know, that's the thing. I wanted to back then. I just didn't have it. You know, like,
oh yeah, dude, I get it.
Stuff, so I was just like, all right, I could pull this sweater. This is $14.99 at the TJ Maxx, and I'm gonna make it rock. And I had the visions, I just didn't have the resources. So when you look back, there's glimpses. When you look back, there's things you see, but it doesn't all match. So back then, it was just, hey, I'm strictly in the art form. I'm strictly on the joke writing, and you just kind of keep going, and then hopefully, you find yourself in the lane.
Isn't it crazy how once you really find the comfort on stage being yourself, Because, dude, for years, all I wore was white t-shirt, black denim, blue denim boots. That was like what I wore growing up. I felt comfortable in it. And also, I was under that impression that Louis C.K. thing, like he always wore the same shit so people would concentrate on the material and not the crazy shit you're wearing, right?
Absolutely.
So, but then you get to a point, I moved out to New York and then I was like, fuck, I got to buy some sweaters because I was like, it's cold out here.
Right.
And it just evolved. And it's so cool because now I think we did a festival together not too long ago. And dude, you walked into the goddamn room and I was like, this motherfucker, dude. Yes. Sometimes people were just born in the wrong eras, dude.
That's what it could be. Cause I feel that. I do feel that. Like, oh man, catch me at like 1979 dropping all this same content, man. It's a wrap.
I can't get no gas. I can't get no gas. Carter's fault. Can't get no gas.
It's a wrap. It's over. You know, but the camera's always rolling. You got to know that the camera's always rolling, man. Wherever you at, just the fact that, it was cold that day too, so that's why I had on all that extra stuff.
Which is you're gonna see how I suddenly weave this into the Beastie Boys. You're gonna see how I'm doing this because I spent this entire morning watching. I watched the Beastie Boys documentary. Got really emotional because like you really find out that like MCA was everything. He's the reason we're talking about this record. He's the reason they weren't just like that first record and forgotten. It's the same shit all throughout, even with our careers in comedy. It's just like, if you're going to just stay doing the same shit, you're never going to grow. And yeah, you might pop off real quick, but if you're giving him the same thing, like Carlos Mencia, nothing against him, but if he just like didn't get called out for stealing the same shit over and over, he'd have his fan base, but would he have, you know what I mean?
So we have to evolve. No, you're saying
you have to evolve.
So you're saying we have to evolve as artists, Like, yeah. I mean, I remember a Jay-Z line is like, if you want my old stuff, go listen to my old albums, But I feel like we go to these artists for what they do. So a lot of times, yes, we are growing together as like, let's just say the Beastie Boys, as they're aging, we are aging along with them and they can't necessarily do the same thing. But there is something specific that we go to them for. So we don't want them to just mainstream it out or go commercial and just do what everyone else is doing.
So let me ask you this. All right. Cause music, God, I can't even remember like the first moment, but I always remember the first 2 or 3 reps. Me and my sister, I think in 1986, I'm 5, maybe 6 years old. My sister's 2 years older. And our parents took us to Waxy Maxy, which most people, the people listening to this podcast, because our age group is fucking old as fuck. God bless you, Mike, in San Francisco. You may murder me one day, but thank you for helping me at my show at Rooster Teeth Feathers. Don't worry about that. We'll get to that later. And we love you, Mike. I'm kidding. Or am I? No one will know. Or am I? But I remember me and my sister go into Waxy Maxy, and I got Licensed to Ill, Run DMC, Raising Hell. These are my first records ever.
Wait, you got them all at the same time.
So we do back in 86, 84, 85. That was like my family's like peak years where we had money. My dad hadn't quit his job yet. He hadn't left ADP. He didn't get into sales. My dad was he quit this great job, went into sales, and then like fucked everything up. So we went from like Christmas being like Nintendo with the Power Glove, with the fucking speed shit you run on. We going to Disney World. We're stopping by the big sombrero on our way down to Florida. And then it became like, all right, you get one thing for Christmas. Dude, but no, dude. That's the shit that makes you, that's what makes me not give up on comedy. That's the drive that you got to have. And I remember, and I think the same thing with the Beastie Boys. It was just, because I'm 6 years old, you're seeing these 3 white kids. Hip hop is nowhere near the level. It's big in New York and LA, but it's not global yet.
We're not even in genres yet like that. Yeah, there's opera and classical and, then there's pop, but there's not even the genre necessarily yet because I don't feel like it's split up. I feel like back in the day, we listened to everything. And then there just became more branches, and then you stuck with whatever branch connected with you the most?
So I'm gonna tell you before we get back into the Beastie Boys. So I was at my youngest, I was everything. And then I found heavy metal. Once I heard Guns N' Roses, like I've talked about this a million times, it changed my life. There's like always, people always ask, what's your favorite, like artist? And I'm like, I don't have favorite artists. I have life-changing records. My life was one way, heard that record, my life was another way. You know what I mean? Like I'll never forget the first time I heard Birth of the Cool. And I was like, that's jazz. That's not the gay shit my dad was listening to, that slow Joe Pass shit. This fucking hard pop. All right. And then it's like Appetite for Destruction, Stone Temple Pilots, Radiohead, and the Beastie Boys. Hearing that at such a young age, just to see those guys doing that and being like, oh my God, just like the party and everything. But when we were talking about finding your genre, once I got into heavy metal, dude, there was a moment in 6th grade, because I was such a big music fan, that the cool kids in my class were all black. They were listening to NWA. They were listening to, and I hadn't really so far I liked Public Enemy. I had Fear of a Black Planet because I loved the Anthrax song they did. But I had, I think, 2 Live Crew. But I remember taking all my heavy metal tapes, going to my friend Ryan McLaughlin's house and giving them to him and being like,
you dumped them off.
Because I thought you could only like one style of music. It wasn't until I got older that you could, dude, it was,
why do we believe that? Why is that a belief? Because I get it. But we did. We felt like, a lot of it is because of the people around us. A lot of times it's our peers, because just say you're listening. Imagine a 6th grader, you listening to hip hop, and then there's something over here that's like, I don't know, different. They're like, oh, you listen to that?
Well,
you don't even want to share it.
Tribe's what brought me back into really hip hop. And not really necessarily hip. Let me take that again. So Stone Temple Pilots was what brought me back into rock for sure. But there was like this evolution of hip hop where, I always do this joke on stage, Mike. It never works. I think this is the funniest shit ever. It's like white people have this one style of rapping that's from like 1982, and you've all gone to a company party and then they're like, Tina from HR is going to spit a freestyle. And she's like, listen, everybody, I'm here to say I do the Xerox in a major way. It's like, that's that old school, the Curtis Blow, the old.
Right. Everyone, and then the white people adopted to that one. That was the taker.
They're stuck in that. They're stuck in that. And then you have, which I first remember, Raising Hell. And I think we got it because it Walk This Way. Double check that math that it's on that song for me, Adam. By the way, also, Adam, pull up the Mike Portnoy quote. I think I sent it to you guys. He goes, we have one of the biggest drummers in the world on, and he wrote like a little blurb about how important Paul's Boutique is. What do you got?
No, that's interesting. I agree, and I hear you how it shapes us. I'm a late bloomer, like I was listening to it via everyone else's stuff, but I was like into all this other stuff, and I realized that's the reason I have a life disconnect. And I have a personal life disconnect because I was a late bloomer in the music. So there's just how I was. I was like there with them, but I was sheltered in a way as well, and, I'm discovering music on my own, like purchasing, I think one of the first albums I had was the Fat Boys, but that was like a Christmas present, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And then the next one is like the soundtrack to New Jack City, right? So now
first time I touched a titty, dude. First time I touched a titty was to the soundtrack to New Jack City, dude. Dude, one of my first jokes on stage when I used to do the Black Rooms was I used to do New Jack City the musical. I used to act out like different scenes from that movie with music, like Pookie put down the crack pipe, like just stupid.
It was a hit. It was,
dude. It was like I remember touching titties to I Want to Sex You Up, and then the next song is New Jack Hustler. So yeah,
right,
yeah,
right. So
that's your first record.
Yeah, but see, I wasn't buying them. They would just come in via like a Christmas present or just some randomness. So I had the cassette, so I'm bumping Ice-T. And now that's shaping me, and I'm like, whoa, what is this? This is dangerous, and then I'm like way later when I'm purchasing my own stuff, when I get like the C. I think I first purchased the CD. I don't know if I purchased my own cassettes.
Okay.
So that shows a time gap in how when I was getting music, it might have been like R&B or something, you know?
Yeah. Everything I got at the beginning was tapes. I got my CD boombox, and my parents took me once again to Waxy Maxi because we were broke. You get one CD. We got you the boombox. And I remember I had in my hand, I had either Tribe Called Quest, Midnight Marauders, or Us Three Cantaloupe. What do you think I bought? Thank God Tribe Called Quest. Thank God Tribe Called Quest. I'm not that lame, dude. I'm just getting bitty bitty bop. That song's all right, but it's not Midnight Marauders, I'll tell you that much. So then if you're not getting CDs and you're getting them just kind of coming to you, so before we even get into Paul's Boutique, like, were you there with them during Fight for Your Right to Party, the wild years? Because the story is incredible. Did you, if I can't stress this enough, this documentary that Spike Jonze did with the two remaining members, it's like they came, because especially too, being here in New York now, seeing how the city is, it's you can understand how like hardcore music could be so important, and how Bad Brains and the Clash. It's the same shit I heard from having Tom Morello on, which is that they saw the Clash and they said, we can do that. Because they didn't start as hip hop, they started as rock. Not even rock, hardcore.
I know that. And I know it has to feel different in New York than anywhere else, especially if you weren't there. Like if you take that album and then you go there and listen to it on the streets, it is a different feeling.
Yeah, it really is.
I understand it has to be, because you're seeing the cities, you're seeing the bodegas, you're seeing everything with the energy of that. It has to take you somewhere.
Dude, I remember when I first moved here, I would put on Oscar Peterson Trio radio, the jazz dude, real light, almost modal jazz, kind of bluish. And I would just like smoke a joint and walk through the city. And it was just like, I mean, you couldn't not feel that like energy, but it was almost like it was made for it. Yeah. And, you know, the 80s, when we're going back, because you have to talk about Ill Communication before we can get into Paul's Boutique, because Ill Communication. So in this story, do you know kind of the situation?
No, I know some, and I know a lot without watching the doc. So the doc the doc would put me over the top. So that's what I would like. That's the homework assignment.
Dude, tonight when you're done, it's on Apple TV. Watch it. I'm so glad I did. And then I watched the making of just this record. But so they're doing punk. They link up with Rick Rubin. They got a girl drummer. They still playing instruments. I think he's got all this like hip hop. He's got the 808 shit and all that stuff. And they start seeing what Run DMC is doing. And they meet the now is he canceled, Russell Simmons? Because he just like disappeared, because I think there was some freaky
currently shit. yes, but you know, right.
But at that time, he's Russell, and he's basically the #1 dude in hip hop. And he sees these three guys working with Rick Rubin, who he knows, who's been working with them in Run DMC. He says, he's like, I'm gonna fucking make you guys the next big thing. And you have to do what? Well, it wasn't so much selling their soul, because they were 18 years old. They're partying, they're drinking, they're wanting to do. Imagine being 17 years old, playing shows in your friends' houses, hardcore shows, then being like, hip hop is where it's at, dude. You hear this, you see the dance, the Adidas shell tops, and they're like, that's what we should do. And then they were doing that white style of rapping, which is like, you know what I mean? That like hunky dunky dunky and a bunky do and a chunky monkey with the flunky too.
Right. So you're talking before License to Ill.
This is right at the beginning. And then they started really working on some good songs through Rick Rubin. Production. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of sampling on Ill Communication, but nowhere near
License to Ill.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry, dude. Thank you, Adam. That's the only thing you say in this podcast. That's perfect. Just keep smiling at me and telling me I'm doing a good job. That's all I need today. But I know there's sampling, but basically they wrote all these songs together. What was the one that really blew them up off that record? Because it's not Fight for Your Right. That the track that is it Ryman off the first record. There's one track, because in the documentary, which is so cool, they kept having different chapters, and they're like the song that changed everything. And it was
Like,
Can you
I
pull
mean,
the?
License to Ill, I feel like it got Paul Revere, I'll probably say is the
That's not no, but no, that's
that's not their hit.
all great hits. All great hits. Let me pull it up because there's one of them that's like
They
I
had
wish
like 6 or
is
7
it
singles running.
I think it might be Rhyming and Stealing. Hold on. Is this it? Basically, one of these songs, I can't remember. I'm not going to waste any more time going over it. Either Slow and Low, Hold It Now, Hit It. There's one of these songs kind of got them a lot more of the attention. And then Fight for Your Right comes out.
Right.
And they do all this stuff DIY, dude. They're shooting the music videos in friends' homes. They're just having the time of their lives.
Oh, yeah.
Drinking. Dude, the craziest story is they're starting to get a lot of heat on them, right? Because they're the first white boys doing hip hop for real, right?
Yeah, they are.
This is no Vanilla Ice. This is like when it was kind of like, all right, this is new genre hip hop. You got all these great people, and now you got these white boys. And Russell is a fucking genius, so he's like, I can sell these motherfuckers. But they get Fight for Your Right to Party. And in that video, they combined, how did he explain it? They combined the Three Stooges. They combined like just so many different elements, the hardcore stuff, like the partying and the drinking. And that they kind of were making fun of frat boys, right? In that video, in that song. And instead of making fun of them, those are the fans that showed up to watch them. They went from, and then this is where the fucking cool shit is they get a call from Madonna's manager. And he's like, can Run DMC open for Madonna? And he goes, the price is $20,000 a show. And they go, no. And then they go, what about the Fat Boys? And Russell Simmons goes, oh man, the Fat Boys are busy. Guess what? He doesn't rep the Fat Boys, but he goes, but I got these 3 white boys that'll do it for 500. And next thing you know, Beastie Boys are on tour with Madonna. They're cussing at the crowds, like cussing at these like 13-year-old girls, throwing beer at them. They become the Fight for Your Right to Party. But that after 2 or 3 years, now they're one of the biggest acts on MTV. They're living that nightmare, which is now they have to do that every night.
Oh, yeah. That's the curse, is like having to follow yourself. And now they created this. And I think that's the thing about second albums. Like, that's the problem as an artist for your second album, which is, well, not that their second commercial album, right?
Sure, but
having to follow yourself. And I think it's, as an artist, I think that the best thing you could do is be seen for the first time in one of your later projects, because then people will go back and then they'll find you. And if they like that one, because people kind of fall out of love, man, when they like that first thing, the second one, it's the sophomore curse. It happens so often where you piled in 5 years of like your greatest stuff, and now you got to turn something around really quick. And
so 100%, everything you're saying 100% true, but they get so worn out. They go to England, they get kicked off stage, they're selling out arenas, they're selling out Madison Square Garden. And they're like creating this element of this party band. Like they literally have a giant inflatable penis on stage.
Yeah.
Like beer cans they're throwing at the audience. You know, they have girls in like cages dancing. You know, the lyrics, I mean, dude, it's like, it's very, you know, is girls, Adam, is girls on ill? It is. Yeah. Girls. It's like, I think the lyrics are like, girls, they do the dishes, girls, they been, it's the most offensive song ever. You know what I mean? I mean, this is also 1986 when you can
also in their 20s. So they can sustain that lifestyle. Like imagine being in your 40s trying to drink every single night and throw beers in the crowd. I don't know. It's only
some people can.
Yeah, it's
some people can. There's some people can. Dude, Bert Kreischer does it every fucking night,
he's the first name that comes to mind.
I mean, that motherfucker gets 3 IV bags a day. So, but here's what's cool is that during that time, they realize they're not happy. Do you know what I mean? Especially MCA. MCA is like, he's the one that kind of says, man, I just don't want to do this anymore, man. He goes, Adam, correct me in my math, or look it up, or at least to correct it. I don't know if he goes on the Vision Quest yet, but he goes, I got to step away. We need to separate. We've been together for the last 3 years. Because dude, also because they didn't want to tour, this is the fucked up shit. This is where Russell Simmons is kind of an asshole because the band didn't want to tour. He said they were in breach of contract, so withheld $2 million in royalty fees.
$2 million.
So
what do they want to do though? What do they want to do if they don't want to tour?
This is where the story gets interesting. But before I get into that, have you ever gotten into a place in your career? Because that's how the goddamn Comedy Jam was created. I did New Faces, nothing happened. I was over stand-up. I was like, what do I like doing? I like singing. I'm very good at that. I created the jam. It's the greatest thing I've ever done in my life. When I'm dead and gone, the comedy world will always remember the goddamn Comedy Jam. If I die now, I still got a few more things coming up. But if I died right now, that's the main thing. Have you ever had that moment in your career where you're just like, this is wrong. I need to shift.
Absolutely.
When was it?
My shift was, this is my shift. And I still battle with it. But the shift was, I was squeaky clean when I first started. I was just, and it's a huge market for that.
Yeah. Bargazzi.
Absolutely. And it's working out. I'm getting opportunities. I'm popping up on AGT. But even when I did that, that's just not who I am. Like, I'm not filth, I can articulate stories and I can jump into some things that require content and context. And sometimes it is private and personal. And I was like, oh man, like these things take me out of that world of being like corporate clean. And so that was the shift, is like, hey man, listen, if you can pay your mortgage and you can support this family being yourself, that's who you need to be.
Yeah.
And then I just turned that and I've just stayed myself and I'm comfortable in that. And that the thing about what I say when I'm like, oh, I shift back and forth is because I'm gonna do the money opportunities if I have to go there, but
of course
it's just not the representation, I think, of who I am. I'm just this,
as long as you feel like you're on stage being yourself. And that's the thing, dude. Even right now, it's like I get like being in New York and like I'm singing whether I have a band or not. And I know some of the comics are like, what the fuck is this? This is even stand-up comedy. But I'm like, okay, but follow me. Because there's a reason they put me at the end of the show every night. Now, that's not saying I'm also like, I have a huge ego, but then I'm also like, I'm an addict. So then I'm like this horrible piece of shit. So I'm constantly just trying to like, just get that chip off my shoulder by giving everything. But it wasn't until I moved out here that I was even remotely close to be myself and do the goddamn Comedy Jam, which is what really blew me up all the time. And
that's what being an artist is.
To being an artist, to being an individual. And this is where we're going to bring it back to where they're at now. So they split apart. They're now broke. And I'm pretty sure, correct my math always, Adam, I'm pretty sure MCA stays in New York and does another band called Brooklyn. Ad Rock. Which one's? Can I keep fucking mixing them up? Which one is the most Jewish looking one? That
Mike D.
Mike D. Mike D goes to LA. Is he the one that's in the movie and was dating Molly Ringwald?
I think. Sure.
Check the math. Check the math. I texted you. I need math checking today, Adam. I'm sorry. I'm done right now.
That was
totally dehydrated.
Right,
but, dude. So he goes to LA, Molly Ringwald, I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
Thank you, buddy. I love you, Adam. Thank you.
It is Mike D. It is Mike D.
He goes to LA. He's dating Molly Ringwald. He's acting. He's just doing the LA shit. And I don't know what Ad Rock is doing, but Mike D goes to a party and there's this music playing. And he goes, what the fuck is that? And he goes up and he meets the DJs. And they're these two guys called the Dust Brothers. The Dust Brothers are two of the most important people to this record. And they link up, and, so he starts dealing with them and he's like, dude, you guys are great. I think they actually mastered or they did something with Tone Loc.
Tone Loc. Yeah, they did.
Funky Cole Medina. They worked on that. I know they worked on that because I remember them seeing that in the documentary.
Right.
And so Mike D calls the boys and says, you need to come to LA. You guys need to come to LA right now. You got to hear this sound. It's that same shit in like Back to the Future where he's like, my brother, he's like, you ain't heard this shit yet, puts the phone up, and then
Yeah,
that
right.
changed music forever. And so the band comes out there, they link up with the Dust Brothers. They say to themselves, since, you know, fuck Russell Simmons and fuck Def Jam, we want to do this on our own. And Adam, MCA, is like, dude, like, let's drop all that old bullshit and let's just get all of our influences. Let's get as much experimenting as we can and working with these guys and sampling all the music that we grew up loving.
Yeah.
And
They're
so
3 years older now too, right? So
the
this
3
was
years
like-
older, and I think he already might have gone on a vision quest because, dude, MCA is a fucking it's a real loss as like a human being. Like he was a very good person. I mean, everything just that he did for Tibet. You know what I mean? It's like it's just so sad. Especially that's why the band broke up once he died, because they're like he was the reason we have Paul's Boutique. And so the long story is this: that they all go to LA, they meet the Dust Brothers. I think because of the heat that they had for Ill Communication, they go to all the record labels.
License to Ill.
Yeah, I keep fucking. It's the thank you. License to Ill.
Because of all was 1994.
I know, and I know that it just wants to come out.
It's a lot of
right.
So because of that first record and the heat that they had on, they were able to get a record deal with Capitol, and Capitol gave them a bunch of money, and so they rented this house, and like a huge house up in the hills. Some famous, I think she was some like famous movie star who had, you know, a pool, and the pool looked into one of the bedrooms, and she had these closets that were locked, and they broke into them, and they were putting on like funky, like Miles Davis going to see like, you know, a boxing match at Madison Square Garden outfit. Like, remember in American Gangster when he wears that, like, he wears like the mink hat, and everybody's like, oh, who's that motherfucker?
Yeah, right. The one he hated.
The one, yeah, because that's what got him caught. That's got all the heat on him.
Right.
But they're fucking around wearing that. And what they decide to do is just experiment as much as they can. And what they basically put together is what most critics would call the hip hop Sgt. Pepper, using every different thing you could possibly think of.
It's a quilt.
I mean, well, Miles did that I think he started fucking around in Bitches Brew, because the Beatles were the first to really start. Well, let me take it even more.
Wait a minute.
The Beach Boys are the first. Well, no, hear me out. So the Beach Boys, that album Pet Sounds, which on every list has always been ranked number 2 as one of the most important records of all time. And it's because Brian Wilson, the guy from the Beach Boys, is the first person that used the studio as an instrument, right? Does that make sense? Do you know what I mean? He's like, well, if I could overdub this, and I could turn this backwards, and I could turn this up, and I can play that, and the guitar sounds like this. And then Miles does something different, and Sly does something different. And now you're into hip hop. And basically what Adam, Mike, you know, and God damn it, the other guy,
MCA.
Thank you. Dude, I'm fucking dying right now. The second this is over, I'm going back to bed. The second they started making this record, they knew they were doing the right thing. Have you ever had, you know, you were talking about that moment of change. What was the biggest epiphany where it was like, was there something that set you off? Because I know you were saying you're doing clean shit, but like, even it doesn't have to be about your career, just in life, like a way of thinking.
Oh yeah. Yeah. One of the, probably the biggest epiphany for me in the form of entertainment was, it's crazy to say. And I inherited from my wife. And she told me this. And she was like, no one gives a fuck about you. And I live with that mentality of like, hey man, you got to go out here and get your own, because relying on or expecting or just thinking someone's going to do anything for you is not the case. So go get it. And when I live in that mantra, it's just me working hard, and you know, when stuff happens, it happens.
Yeah.
So that was like that corner changing for me. And you know, it makes so much sense for them at the time to have like, it's sample heavy, if not the most
heavy dude
album ever. Layered, they got like things from like scary movies in there. It's like,
dude, I'm trying to find the list of all the samples. There's a really good YouTube doc that showed you every dude. I think they sampled the Beatles a couple times on this record.
Oh yeah, they did.
They got sued, and they were like, "There's nothing cool than getting sued by the Beatles." I mean, that's fucking dope.
I feel like if they don't do it, someone does this. Because the way I feel, this is deeply, I feel like I'm not even a fan of sampling. I'm not a fan because I want that new. I'm always looking for that new something, but I also understand that it's important, and that's how an evolution takes place. Is stuff coming from the past. Like there's times when I hear an album, I'm like, oh, I love this, and they're like, oh, that's from Angie Stone, and they'll throw out something, and I'm like, oh man. And I just wanted the artist that I heard it from first to be the originator of it. And so that's where I get like my little letdown in it, but I understand it's a part of it. And if they didn't do it, someone else was going to do it. Yeah. It's a part of the culture.
Yeah.
So this being pieced together is very special for the time when it's happening and what they brought into it.
Now here's the kicker, Mike. The audience hated it. This album didn't sell for shit. Critics liked it. This dude, they literally get a call from their accountant like, y'all are broke now. You know that, right? Like
how
they
do broke after your first album grosses $9 million.
Motherfucker, TLC, when they released Waterfalls, had $0 and filed for bankruptcy. You spend money, dude. You heard what we were talking at the beginning, bro? Why do I have all 3 Air Yeezys? Because I'm bad with money.
Oh man.
You know what I mean? They're in their 20s and they're millionaires. And they got a huge house in the Hollywood Hills. And they fucking like just like that house alone probably cost, who knows?
Right.
Dude? Yeah. I mean, 5,000 back then in 1987, 88. They just blew through their money.
Yeah. Why save? Like, let's live.
But this album is not. This is not like more of the Party Boy stuff. There's a changing in the lyrics. They're older, right. And only a couple years, but the lyrics are different.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're saying something, and it's like the way they're doing it. I mean, I want to go through some of the tracks, but it's like, there's so much fucking cool shit that's on this record that is so important. Adam, because you put the sheet together. Before we even get into the tracks, is there any other stuff that we need to drop and talk about before we get into them?
What's interesting is you started off with this when we started talking is about the need to evolve.
Yeah.
And then that's what happens in this album. And it's what happens with age with all of us if, we're paying attention to the world. But it's like, all right, so this is where I'm going to for information is the Beastie Boys. I mean, if they're giving it and I'm a fan, I'm listening.
I know, but that's the thing is that the audience didn't want it. They wanted more of Fight for Your Right. They wanted, they wanted more of that bullshit.
They were only 3 years older. I want to party still.
This album came off. They were about to get written off, dude. If it wasn't for that record deal that they signed with Capitol, there might not be more Beastie Boys. There may never be the next record, which is... not Ill Communication, the one right before that. Check Your Head, which is when they really started playing the instruments again and getting back to their roots. It's still doing a lot of sampling, but really still being a band again. You know what I mean?
So the thing about this album that's important to understand too is Chuck D of Public Enemy was quoted as saying that the dirty secret among the black hip hop community at the time of release was that Paul's Boutique had the best beat. So while it didn't sell well, it established the credit amongst their peers that like, oh, okay, these guys are legit. That was, it was experimental, but like, hey, these guys are here to stay. These guys can hang. Like that was what was important about this album.
Well, this is what the Dust Brothers. Go ahead. No, go ahead, Mike. What do you better say?
Right. They also said with the amount of samples that they had in this, if they paid for every sample that they should have during that time, it could have cost them in the likings of $20 million.
I know. And I think the album cost $2 million to make, if I'm not mistaken.
That's insane.
But this is, don't forget, man, it was like, I think it was, when did that change? When did everybody start getting sued? And was that all the Diddy era? Or was it like, because if they could use that many samples and it's like, I don't know how much they probably had to pay out. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I mean,
when did it?
people were doing it back then. It just, you know, if the suings were happening, they weren't all public because they're not the first to get sued, even though I think the Beatles coming after someone was like the biggest
That's so dope
story of someone
That's
being
so dope.
sued.
And you want to talk about a band evolving? Beatles. That's one of my favorite lines from the Imagine documentary about John Lennon, where he's being yelled at or he's arguing with this woman who's like interviewing him. And he's like, listen, love, if you want more of Love, Love Me Do, that was 6 years ago. I'm not giving you that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm different. It's not me anymore. You know? And I just remember like, it was like, he wasn't mean, but it's just like, you know, oh god damn, dude. Oh, what was the fucking quote that really like got me emotional? Because, you know, as MCA evolved as a human, you know, dude, they treated women like shit. And I think it's off Ill Communication. Is that one, Adam, where he says, you know, I want to offer to all the mothers and the daughters and I want to offer my love and respect in the end. And I remember they got quoted by some woman writing an article, and she goes, like, aren't you kind of a hypocrite? And he's like, I'd rather be a hypocrite than the same old person. You know what I mean? It was something like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like dude, that's in what I got from that documentary is they all were growing, but MCA is the one that was like, I mean, dude, he's just, you know, look, it's like drugs and alcohol and partying will only get you so far. You know what I mean? If you want to numb yourself and just be drunk every night, and if you just want to, like, you know, so many artists have like fucked their careers up because of the partying. That's what got me sober off of opiates the first time at the Comedy Store. I had a bad relapse, and I remember Sam Tripoli saw me. He goes, when are you going to quit? And I go, I don't know when I die. He goes, or, okay, maybe you die, or maybe you're that 50-year-old comic still hanging out at the store that almost had a TV show. And I'm like, that's that. Failure is scarier than death. Death is final.
Yeah, it is. Failure is scary. You know, and dude, they weren't, even though they weren't, you know, I mean, they were partying, you know, that's how they were creating too, though. You know, they were creating drinking wine and hitting bongs. This is how they were like developing tracks. So now, you know, I mean,
think about how many people they influenced, like how many different, I mean, Adam, check this math for me. When did It Takes a Nation, the Public Enemy record, come out? It was because, like, I don't know if that was, this is 89. I know, you know, who was the DJ for Cypress Hill, who used a lot of samples. I know they're heavily influenced by this record. 1988. So the year before. So yeah, you think about that too. You know what I mean? Public Enemy, because I always thought Terminator X was one of the greatest fucking hip hop. Dude, Public Enemy is heavy metal. I don't give a fuck what anybody says, dude. It is in your face. It is, dude. It is the reason Do the Right Thing is one of the best movies about race ever made. Is that fucking opening with Rosie Perez just dancing to Fight the Power?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, dude. It's that important because it's a fucking rock song. And and that shows what you can do with hip hop. And so when the Beastie Boys do this record and all these other producers that are now like probably seeing the evolution, they were probably so influenced by it that this album in the day didn't get any of the respect that it deserved. It wasn't until the next record because they were like written off as lame. Right. And then the next record came out and they just low key, they got rid of the big mansion. They just started working together on their instruments, having fun, changing the style of the lyrics. It's not about the party. It's about being open to the world and Buddhism and giving up like about love, respect, all that. And that's when it was almost the perfect timing of the 90s because they went from like, because they couldn't just be the Beastie Boys from the first record their whole career. People would have been like, this is lame.
Hey, but you're right. But is that wise? Like, is that wise?
I mean, change like that?
Yeah, right. I mean, because the people want something, and you're the artist, and you're just like, yeah. But
let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, dude.
Pull out the flute. I'm gonna do the Andre 3000 and pull out the flute. Like, why not give the people what they want?
I agree. And you know, who told me this, but it was, you know, look at what's happening right now with like Limp Bizkit and Creed, right? Like they came out, their style blew up, and then they became a joke because they kept doing the same thing.
Mm.
And then they sat on their money and they waited until right about now. And now Creed was one of the biggest tours of the year. I went to see Limp Bizkit. You could, dude, it's insane the way that music comes around. So yes, maybe if they stuck doing that License to Ill bullshit, they kept doing that, they fade out. And then next, some girl does it in a TikTok dance and they're back out on the road.
Do you think that translates in stand up? Do you think as like for comedians, their job is to, keep giving you that same thing, or is it like we're discussing now? Should they?
I don't know, man. Comedy is. You're meeting me at a very weird moment in my career, dude. Where it's like it's another one of those like I've got to shift, because if I'm still just calling in my spots to the cellar and getting mad that I only got 3 this week and I'm on the road, but I can only sell X amount of tickets. It's like you got to pivot.
Gotcha.
You got to pivot.
So you're talking about like overall as a human. You're not even talking about like the
that's
pin
what
in the pad.
Yes, dude, that's what they did. They changed as humans to make this record. This record is not just a sampling of like, oh, let's just take all the shit we do. This is them evolving as human beings. And then the next record after this is when they're finally now themselves. And that's when they do the Tibetan Freedom Concert. That's when he goes on the Vision Quest. That's when they start really just, leaning more into, dude, the best quotes I remember is like when I met, and I love name dropping. So Tom Morello, former guest, the reason I vote in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And he said, it was like him seeing the Clash. It was like seeing, dude, because it wasn't Led Zeppelin, which was this big arena thing with fire and fucking like they're sex gods. They were normal looking guys, dude. Normal looking people with the fucking amp on a chair, the same amp that Tom Morello had. And he said, I can do that. And so that was what Rage they never did flashy shows. They just put their fucking music out and they partied and they gave you everything they had for that hour and a half. Dude, I went to see 5 nights at Madison Square Garden. Probably they'll never tour again, probably. I saw the last show they ever did. I don't think I ever cried harder because it was one of the best moments of my life. Just watching that band. And dude, Zach was sitting on a fucking crate because he hurt his fucking leg early on the tour. More energy. He gave off more energy sitting than most fucking people do standing.
That is emotional. That is an emotional sight. Right.
And I think, and me as a performer, like early on, I read that Franklin Ajayi book about comedy. So it's like, who are your influences? Who do you want to be? And I started going like, because I think he said something along the lines of like, it doesn't have to just be comics. Who are you influenced by?
I mean, that's a tough one, because I feel like I started stand up because of Def Jam era. And I thought that was the only way stand up is done. And so my first couple years, I'm extra aggressive. And that's not even who I am as a human, And then time goes and then you start branching out and becoming a student and then seeing so much. So when I like name influences, it's so many. Like, I mean, I feel like for me,
give me your amalgamation. What about like just give me like I can tell you, I'm Scott Weiland, Axl Rose, Pee Wee Herman, fucking Martin Lawrence from You So Crazy.
Yeah,
and I would even go ahead.
Martin, Chris Rock, Cat, Mitch Hedberg. Watch this. I mean, this is just someone I like, but JB Smoove, like early JB Smoove is like freaking crazy, Those are guys, man, that I saw and I was like, oh, I respect people that find a lane and then no one else is doing that specifically. And I felt like that was goals for me. If I can go down some way and do something that like people will say, damn, that's what Mike does. All right, cool. That's where I'm leading to.
Yeah. But this is it, dude. This is the record that basically took the Beastie Boys from being a one-hit wonder to going down. I mean, dude, 500 greatest albums list. This list, I don't know if I agree with everything, Adam. We've done a bunch of records on here that probably don't deserve to be on here. This does. This is one of the records that I feel definitely deserves to be on here. I think it could probably be even ranked lower. Is there another Beastie Boys record after this? Or is this the last one?
This is the last one for this podcast. Yes.
Shocking. Shocking.
So wait, where do you rank the two? Like if you're comparing, let's just say License to Ill and Paul's Boutique, do you prefer this one? Do you prefer
Now I
Paul's
do.
Boutique?
Now I do. Back in the day, it was License to Ill. But dude, you can't. That was the first record I ever bought. You know what I mean? That's especially that Bon Jovi Slippery When Wet. That's a special place in my heart, man. Those are like one of the first albums I ever like. You got to understand, dude. I used to run home from school, go to my room, put a tape on, grab my hairbrush, and I would just sing into the mirror. That's all I do every day. I love music. Music is like, I wanted to be a rock star. Dude, even right now, I'm like, why did I do comedy? I'm watching this band Turnstile from Baltimore that is just amazing.
Why? Why did you do comedy? Why did you do comedy?
Because I remember when I've said this on the podcast. I saw my dad watching Comic Relief when I was 6 years old, and he was watching Carlin, and he had tears in his eyes.
Yeah.
And he was just laughing, and I was like, I want to do that. And it was funny. I was also, dude, it's like you get a certain, I mean, dude, you probably most comedians, not most, I don't want to say that, because some of the nerdy ones just, it took longer for them to come out of their shells and, maybe the joke writing or whatever.
Right.
I have so much energy that I always stuck out, whether it was getting in trouble or whether it was, just being funny. And I was a smaller guy, and dude, my their house is getting foreclosed on. My parents are fighting. Like I found, Pee-wee, dude, I just watched that Pee-wee documentary. I mean, dude, that guy fucking made me so happy as a kid.
Oh,
and it was just and so, but that's what I'm saying. It's just that
lives, right?
And so comedy was this thing that I used to kind of like make friends. And so my whole life, I've always tried to be funny, but then I've also always done music. So it just kind of, and a buddy of mine that passed away, Angelo Bauer, said, combine both of them. It's just crazy, because I think that, when if you stick to if I just would have done music, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I was, who knows? I could be dead by now. I mean, because I probably would have kept drinking and I could have partied hard. I mean, who knows?
Right.
But who says I can't do it now?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But there's something so beautiful. Like I'm watching the old videos of the old concerts of the Beastie Boys shows, those early, dude, it looks so much fun.
Oh, imagine that energy. Imagine just being in it and the songs and everyone around you knows the song. So now you relate with everyone in the room. It had to be almost spiritual.
There's a really cool, dude, watch this thing. There's a really cool moment in it because one of the easiest songs they said they ever wrote, because they worked on this record for, and Adam, check my math, 2 years or 3 years or something like that. The easiest song they ever wrote was Sabotage. And it came from just them noodling around in this little Atwater Village place because they really downgraded after this record to go, like I said, go back to your roots and just keep it. The best advice I ever got in comedy was from a black comic at an open mic on Vine Street. That was keep it simple, stupid. That's it. Keep it simple. Don't try to don't make it don't be too smart. You're new. You know what I mean? Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah, that's the problem. We're heady. We want that depth. And we're digging for this punchline is so far away when it's like it's right there. It's right just there, say that.
It's right
we
there.
Gotta try to be all complex.
Elaine Boozler came on the podcast. She said, Carlin said to her, if a joke's not working, you're just not explaining it right. You know what I mean? You just got to change one little thing.
Yeah.
And that's what this band did. And I mean, it sucks that this record didn't get the respect it deserved at that time. But what is so awesome is that eventually, dude, Beastie Boys they're headlining every festival. Sabotage, they write in 15 minutes because of a bass riff that MCA is playing. And it was so, like we kept saying, it's when the rest of the band heard him play it and they're like, it was like, what is that from? And he's like, oh, I'm just making this up now. And then they do that song to close out. Where did they do it first? It was either at some festival, and it was like they saw the crowd turn into that punk rock early Bad Brains. Because dude, watching the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame speech, which is so sad that MCA is not there. And his letter that he wrote is so beautiful. And he was like literally on death's door during that time. But it's like
in the moment. That's so crazy.
Just murdering, dude, murdering with that song. And they were immediately like that's our closer. That's taking it back. Because the first person that Mike D shot out was Bad Brains. And so they're still just those kids. But it's like when you can take the shit you learned, the people that influence you early on, and then it still grow as an adult and as a performer, you're still not the Def Jam people you watch back in the day. Mike, it's still there. It might not be full.
You got the
foundation. Still there.
Right.
Yeah, dude. This story of this record is insane.
That's so interesting too, to riff in the moment and create that in that short of time. That's like the current state of entertainment right now. It's like what we see is like these moments taken are posted, and they're the biggest things now. That's kind of what
insane how it's evolved, and that's what's so sad about the Beastie Boys. But that's also what I think I love about them is that the second that MCA died, they were done. You know what I mean? They don't tour. They did the documentary, they made the book, and they're all doing different shit now. But it's like, this is, the catalog that you got is what you got. And I don't think they're ever going to release any unreleased stuff, because in his will, he said, I don't want any of my music used in a commercial. He was very like, dude, he is.
You don't think they release it though? They're going to honor him like that? Because
yeah, they are. They are, dude. They are. Dude,
fans would love it.
He's the reason they became big again. MCA is the heart and soul of the Beastie Boys. He was the guy that, dude, it's like because I'm in one of those places in my life where it's like I'm just coming off of like a rough period of time, and it's like you're looking for like answers when you're like, you know what I mean? Like, dude, I've been numb for like 8 years, not even realizing it. And I just got through this like really hard period, and you're starting to feel again. And you're like, what? I need something. And it's like, you need to have some sort of spiritual base. And that's what he lost that as a kid, and then found it in his 20s and in his 30s. And by the time he was in his 40s, when he died, he was at peace. You know what I mean? And he's the reason the Beastie Boys went from that fucking throwing beers to suddenly being a respected artist, because they, like I said, dude, they could have been written off, dude, and then maybe 25 years later they're doing amphitheaters. They're playing the Walmart amphitheater in Rogers, Arkansas, which I've played, which is a good venue, so I'm not shitting on it,
right
you know what I mean? But it's like it's that, dude, it's touring kills you, dude. I remember I went on that 3-month tour with Jelly Roll, and on that last week, man, I was so done. And then now that it's over, and it's like you look back, you're like, God damn, I took it for granted. But it's like it'll drain you.
It's insane energy that's required, and you almost have to micromanage every aspect of yourself if you're gonna survive.
Yeah.
So doing anything over that, because I'll do weekends, and then I'll do weekends, but at least I'm like able to come home and plant and refresh and rejuvenate. But if you just stay on the road, and they're offering you the alcohol and
and drugs. There's coke out there. There's everything you want.
The women every night,
dude. On tour, dude. Living on a tour bus for 3 months is not real. It's literally your food's waiting for you. There's whatever you want. There's like, you literally go to bed on a bus and wake up in a different city every day. And then when you have your day off, you just isolate from the world. I didn't drink on tour, so I wasn't partying like that. But you can't not have fun. But if but if you're doing that, and at the level that the Beastie Boys had to have been doing for that first record tour to live up to that image, of course you're gonna get done. You're gonna be like, we're gonna die.
They had to age.
Yeah,
all the alcohol and drugs and partying every night,
dude. Right. Dude, he actually, towards the end, like MCA, he's got the gray hair. He died at 46 or 47. He doesn't look, the cancer was probably, really aging him. But even watching that documentary, they look, it's just so crazy to see these guys now talking at this documentary, and then seeing the old footage of them for that first, like, the Fight for Your Right era. It's just insane. All right, what are the big songs we really feel like we got to talk about, Adam? What do you think? There's so many. I don't think we should have to go through every single one of them, but
To All the Girls, let's see. Hey, ladies, those are two of the bigger names on the album.
So I guess it's kind of like, so yeah, To All the Girls is a great way to open, especially because you see the change in the band, because this is like, they're really putting some distance between being like really rude to women. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like,
you know, they shouted out. They did a big shout out, and shout outs you got to be careful with shout outs too, because then someone gets left out, you know. So shout outs are crazy, you know, and they opened it up and they were just like, "What's up, everybody? What's up?" Chinese, you know, the Swiss, the French, you know, and they you know, they captivated an audience right out the gate.
oh yeah, dude.
Brooklyn
yeah,
girls, right.
And I remember, because I was thinking to myself, I've left her like, you know, like my change in my perspectives in my 20s, all I wanted to do was get laid. And I wasn't mean to women, but it was like, just, it's like you understand what like being one way and treating, you know, even if it's just not just ghosting somebody. And like, you know what I mean? Like, did
When
you
did
ever
that change though? When did it change when it's
when
not
I just stopped thinking about pussy all the time and started just doing stand up. I think that was really what it was. I got older.
so you just
You know
refocused? Because
Well,
there's a lot of people listening now and they're like, how do I not think about pussy every day?
dude, let me tell you something, dude. That's never gonna stop. Especially I'll just be completely honest. Been on this. You ever heard of Kratom? It's this they sell it at head shops. It's basically a legal opiate, and it's like I was using it as like a supplement. And for 8 years, I had no sex drive, and I just got off of it over the last week, and which has been very difficult, dude. I've probably jerked off 5-6 times a day. You're never gonna not get real. You want that serotonin. There's nothing better than sex. God gave that to us. But there's people that it controls their life all the time. And dude, those are the people that fuck up their lives. They either cheat on their wife, they cheat on their, their girlfriends, or they just don't pay attention to the career because they're so focused on getting laid. Dude, Chris D'Elia ruined his life over pussy.
Yeah. Right.
I'll say it right here, dude. Somebody, I'm not gonna say who, somebody said he once fucked 9 girls in one day.
Hey man, at the end of the day, you have to sit down and share stories with your grandchildren. There's the
9.
legend of you.
9. I mean, you're almost like, good for you, but 9?
Yeah, that's hey, listen, I mean, being in
that?
Hollywood, there's so much we haven't heard about many of these artists that we revere,
And you think, and dude, if you think it's bad now, imagine what it was like back in the day before there was fucking paparazzi everywhere. It took Fatty Arbuckle to have a bitch die at one of his parties for them to be like, damn, y'all fucking like that? You know what I mean? Dude, they got away with everything back in the 20s and 30s, dude.
No, they were lucky. Now everything's surveillance. Like,
we were lucky. No, we were lucky. Because we were Gen X is the last good generation that internet came later in life.
Yeah, that's true.
All that, dude. It's I'm so happy that so much of my old shit's not out there, man.
I agree. I would be canceled if my 20s was like somehow available.
Yeah,
for people.
When we signed the Spotify deal early on in the podcast, they wanted to add a female co-host. And I told the guy, Bart Coleman, who I fucking love to death. He worked on my TV show, and he was the guy that brought me on to Spotify. I said, Bart, if you bring, and the girls that they recommended were like very social justice warrior-y, you know what I mean? Like, she's a lesbian from Portland, and I'm like, if we bring her onto the show, I'm not a misogynist at all or anything, but there's a reason we don't tape this live. Because if I say something, we can cut it out. And I'm like, I'm going to get canceled off my own show.
Hey, you know, though, that's what people tune in for. That's why we watch 90 Day Fiance. They want to see you angry. They want to see you clashing every single day and graying and stressed. And people love that stuff, man. So
shake your rump.
That doesn't help your mental health at all.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't, dude. It doesn't. It doesn't. It's but to go from that opening track to Shake Your Rump, which, I mean, god damn, dude, that fucking, I don't know, whatever that noise is, it's unheard of. Like to for the band to use I mean, so many different samples in this song. I mean, I'm looking at it, just even the it's the joint, just all those little things. They just started throwing every little thing they could into every song. Are you a good dancer?
Let you know this is how it's gonna be.
Yeah. Are you a good dancer? I bet you are.
Hey,
you
man,
shake
listen,
your rump. You shake your rump.
I think great dancing is just believing in yourself, whether no one else does in the room. And chances are, when I'm dancing, no one else is believing in me but myself.
Good. All right, Johnny Riel. This song's about a homeless man Mike Diamond often came across. He hung out on the stoop of their apartment. I think that's a beautiful. I mean, I wonder if he even knows that they made that song if he was homeless. Do you think? Adam, is there a way that you can check that,
you know what they were saying too? They were saying that he was like, like he used to be a famous rock star, and now this is what his life is. I wonder where they somehow like just looking at what their life could be.
Wait, there's a good Adam. You found this cool thing. Is this worth reading? In the Beastie Boys book, there's a photo of Johnny Riel with a Def Jam Records jacket on. The Beastie Boys, of course, were signed to that label and given those jackets as swag. And Mike D gave it to Riel. According to Mike, when Def Jam head Russell Simmons saw him wearing it, he was none too pleased. He didn't want Def Jam associated with homeless people. Have you ever done something unintentionally that pissed somebody off and you thought to yourself, good, fuck them?
Oh, yeah.
Can you say
it? Right.
Huh? Can you say it? Or
like man, I used to have this. I can't, but I'll say this much. I used to have this show on Fuse, whatever. It was called Straight Out Report, right?
Yeah.
And the show was based on the straight and the gay side of the current pop culture news. Great premise. I was the straight side.
Yeah.
I had a gay co-host, and a lot of it was overwhelming, and it was a lot getting to me. And I just remember I had like a quote that I said that wasn't in the script, and I thought it was great. But in the room, they ended up airing it, and it was great feedback. So it pissed a lot of people off in the room at the time. But when I did it, the people were like, "Oh, that's funny." And I think funny prevails.
Funny first, dude. Funny always first. I don't know who told me that, but that's the
truth.
Got to be funny. Make it. If you can say anything as long as it's funny. You can say the most off-color joke in the world as long as it's funny.
Yeah,
that's why Burr is so great, because he says something and you're like, how the fuck is he going to make this funny? And then you're like, oh, he's a genius.
Oh yeah,
dude. Fucking Patrice made the Mike Tyson rape funny. He's like, shut up, bitch, while I peel the hood back and gently caress your clitoris with my tongue. Like, it's brilliant.
It's brilliant. And the tough part is now, where do you polish these jokes in private? Where do you work this out so that people can see your genius? So they see the first take at it. If you're trying this joke out the first night, you could probably see like, oh, it could be great because this is a great artist, but not always the case.
No, not always the case.
Not the first time.
Eggman's a very interesting story. John Lennon, of course, sang about the Eggman and I Am the Walrus. Eggs are kind of like an ongoing thing with the Beastie Boys. Egg raid
like that was white boy shit too.
Well, do you know why this song is Eggman? Do you want to know why? Because this is actually very interesting. Because they used to throw eggs from their apartment onto people waiting to get into the Comedy Store.
Comedy Store, right?
Yeah, they used to throw eggs, and he literally talks about it, hitting a dude, like a bald head dude, and good for them, dude.
Yeah, good for them, because black dudes wasn't throwing eggs, and one's throwing eggs today.
Wait. All right, because I got into mischief as a kid. I used to toilet paper houses. I remember when they were building homes in my neighborhood, and the toilet was out there. We would take a shit and then just leave it in there. I mean, there was always a friend that brought shit into it. I never did the shitting, but I got in. Do black people get into mischief like that? Mailbox baseball, like, or is that just a white boy thing?
Only when we hang out with our white friends in elementary. That's when the stuff happened. When you were like, oh man, I've never had a BB gun before. We're in the woods shooting animals. I'm like, why are we doing this? Are we allowed to do this?
White people are so weird, dude. I mean, every race culture is weird, but it's just like White people love like the mayhem because they know it's like even if they get stopped by the cops. I mean, dude, I remember one time I could have killed somebody, and we used to hide. We had this one friend. I give full names, but I'm not gonna. This kid's name was Robert, and his dad was never home, so we used to fucking just mayhem. And we used to go hide. There's this stretch in my neighborhood where there were trees on both sides, and cars would be driving by, and we used to take trash can lids and throw them from the bushes at the cars. And we hit this kid. There's this cool black dude named Jamal that lived in my neighborhood. This dope truck, and on the back of it was like lowered, and it was black, all tinted out. In the back of the truck, on the whatever you call it, the shield that goes down, it said "Back the fuck up," right? And I remember he pulled over, found us, and he was just like, because I might have hit the tire, whatever. He got really mad, and he's like, "What's your name?" And I was like, "Josh." And he's like, "What's your last name?" I'm like, "Ua." that's how I got out of it. I thought that would get a laugh. All right, never mind. Moving on. Okay, so what do we got next? What's another great song to talk about? Adam, what's next?
I mean, "Hey Ladies" is probably one of the last ones, I would think.
Well, because I eventually want to talk about "Looking Down the Barrel of a Gun" because that's my favorite song on this record. I mean, "Hey Ladies," this wild throwback romp finds the Beastie Boys on the prowl. Lyrically, it's a mashup of pickup lines, micro stories, and pure nonsense. Zany fun, clever wordplay. The group became known for, this is this still them doing more of License to Ill, though, lyrically?
Hey Ladies?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's probably why that's like one of the only two singles on there. It's like, oh, let me remind you, they're still the Beastie Boys, even though they're in the midst of this evolution.
See, what are the samples that I've got? Do you have any cheesy pickup lines while I find these samples? What's the cheesiest shit you ever said to a girl to get pussy?
Oh man.
One time I spoke a whole night in a Louisiana accent, trying to get some pussy. I was like, yeah, I don't know. I was just down by the bayou, and yeah, I swear to God, the whole night, it works. It works.
Yeah, I've had a book. I've looked it up before. That's the bad part. I've looked it up online and saw the lines and walked in with openers. And
what was one that you used?
Oh man.
This is a free zone, dude. This is a free.
No, I know it is. I have an interesting memory. It blacks out from an edible overdose I had in 2017. It is a whole span of time that is gone.
Really?
Yeah. It was like I had one of those THC sodas, and I drank like half the can. It was like, I didn't know better, and I didn't feel it like 2 hours later.
Smoke weed? Were you smoking weed before that, or
no, not even. That was like my first experience.
So you're jumping into a can. You've never smoked weed, and you're jumping into just a can of THC.
Absolutely. And I thought, I drink alcohol, it's nothing, and then 2 hours later, I still don't feel it. So I'm like, all right, finish the can. Turns out the can was like 52 milligrams or something, and then it all starts crashing at once. And then I'm in hell. I remember that. Then I'm crying. Then I'm like living the same day over and over and over again, and I can't come out of it, and then I got my wife, she's next to me, and this is the wildest shit, she starts interrogating me because I can't stop telling the truth. So now I'm spewing out every truth in the world that I ever had, and she's just coming at me, and like the answer she wanted, like I told the truth, and it was like nothing that was like violating the marriage or anything like that, so she didn't get her answers. But I also called her out the next day because I'm like, to take advantage of me in like my most vulnerable moment, was like the worst thing you can do to anyone. But I crashed out, and then I have anxiety from this, like afterwards when I'm not even doing it. I think I'm high or I'm living the same day, and I'm like living in this anxiety riddled life now just because of that one night. And then now gaps of time I no longer remember.
Wow.
Like my brother was like, you don't remember when we had a dog for those 3 years? I'm like, we had a dog? I don't remember it at all. It's insane.
I believe it.
It's
But
gone.
the power of your brain, though, man, I had this bad trip when I was 15 years old. I took way too much acid, and my life has never been different. I never looked at anything the same after that. But it's crazy, like how powerful something will set it off that'll bring all that back.
Yeah,
because I remember I'm having this bad trip, and it did not end well. I literally like showed up to my parents' house. They wake up, and I'm like freaking out, like I'm on drugs in front of my family. But as I'm freaking out in my parents' bedroom, everything started aging backwards. And everything,
wow.
it was the TV it went from the new TV to the older TV to the TV before that, to the bedspread, to the this, to the that. My mom started getting younger. It was the craziest shit. So
that's scary, man.
well, no, dude, the brain is psychedelics. Listen, man, I really do believe in psychedelic therapy. I've been microdosing for years on a light thing of like these. I have a sponsor for some of my shows in LA, and this guy really makes incredible, even during this like detox, man. It's been like, it's just really, because you lose so much through life. It's just dopamine. And so it's like, dude, psychedelic therapy, if done right, there's a reason why
I'm open to that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you should try it. You should, dude. If you really I'm actually thinking now, once I get, not now, but I would love to do like, go somewhere and do ayahuasca, because you have to get to the root of the problem of why you do certain stuff. And it's like, that's the only thing that'll really fix anything.
I need that more than ever right now. I need to understand aspects of myself that could change my life for the better moving forward from today.
Yeah. And that's what fucking MCA did, dude. That's what MCA did. He went on a vision quest, which I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to go somewhere outside of the country, like to go to India. I mean, not now because it looks fucking shitty out there, but I would love to still. I'm going to stay at a nice hotel. I'll tell you that much if I go. But it is one of those things that it's like you have to. There's so much more than what we're just in our just main little focus, and you can get caught up. And yeah. All right. What's the last song? Let's talk about, which I think is one of my. I love. Say what?
That wasn't that the one when they were like telling you where the boutique is or something? Wasn't that
on what song? On Looking Down the Barrel of a Gun?
No. Oh, no. I thought you meant the last track of the album.
Oh, no. Well, you can get to that too.
No. Keep going.
So my favorite track on this album, and I think this is where the Dust Brothers are at their best, is Looking Down the Barrel of a Gun. I don't know if you know what the Dust Brothers went on to do, but they produced a bunch of stuff for Beck. And Beck, one of my favorite artists, really, he has the first record, then he puts out his second record, and he's could have been written off as just a one-hit wonder with Loser. He puts out Odelay, and that's all Dust Brothers sampling and beats and shit like that. And that's basically his Paul's Boutique. Do you know what I mean? And it changed Beck forever after that. And then Beck basically made, which I know it won a bunch of Grammys. I mean, but it was like in the top, 10 list on almost every fucking, Spin, NME, Rolling Stone. Like and I hear a lot of some of the Dust Brothers work with Beck in Looking Down the Barrel of a Gun, because I know they're using. Is Adam is Looking Down the Barrel of a Gun, that the drum beat is When the Levee Breaks, right?
It says here, scratching elements of Pink Floyd's Time, Last Bongo in Belgium by Incredible Bongo Band.
Do me a favor. Can you just play the beginning to When the Levee Breaks by Led Zeppelin? Just the first like 10 seconds. And then put on 10 seconds of Looking Down the Barrel of a Gun. It's just such a genius thing to be able to do that, to like hear, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what's so impressive about sampling is like,
people will get ears.
You hear this little dude, RZA like would take these little fucking things and then just turn that into a symphony. It's crazy. Dude, I'm telling you, Wu-Tang. I would be shocked if they didn't hear Paul's Boutique, when they were making fucking Enter the 36 Chambers. What do you got it right here? Hold on, I don't hear it.
Well,
is that it? Hold on. Can we do it this way if I play it through the phone and just add it in the editing?
Is that it? The static sound?
No, it's the issues of doing internet podcasting. Sometimes it's just like One receiver doesn't work. Hold on here. When the levee. Hold on. Here we go. Yeah. Can you hear this, guys?
Mm-hmm.
So that's when the levees break. And now let's get Paul's Boutique Teak. Paul's Boutique. Booyah. Let me see if I'm right.
That is it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
But this is so fucking ill. Adam, are you editing this episode, or is it going to be Peter?
They'll know what to do.
Okay, yeah.
Rhyming and Stealing is the one where they actually use it.
Yes, that's it. Dude. I only can retain so much.
That wasn't the same.
It's very. It's like they like change like the phasing on it, but yeah, it sounds very. It's that same kind of drum.
Dude, that is such a good. Sorry, so there's what we got. One day when the Dust Brothers, John King was scratching elements of Pink Floyd's Time over Last Bongo in Belgium by incredible bongo band. MCA picked up his bass and began jamming along, and that's what this song became. And I love this song. I love this song. I think this is what really. It's a great record, but this is the song that I will never skip over. I probably listened to it the most out of this.
I think that is the specific song in there where it shows that they're turning a corner. That's like the only song in there that has a tone of seriousness. They're like coming they always came like real with stuff and their life and we partying and girls and money, but this is the time when they're like, man, I'm saying something. This is that track.
Yeah, it really is, dude. It really is. For me, it's just, I really feel like this is them. I don't want to say at their most experimental on it, because I know there's some songs on this that they're using the psycho noises. They're using the Jaws theme, but it's just, there's something that resonates with looking down the barrel of a gun. Maybe it's because I've had a gun pulled on me so many times. So I kind of understand like, oh yeah, it's like this. That's what it kind of feels like. Have you ever had a gun drawn on you?
No, but I've been near. I grew up in Baltimore, so I've seen it. And
I lived in Canton Square for 7 years, dude.
Look at that. Hey, yeah.
And I just did the port last week too.
Don't get me wrong. It's my home. I love it.
Where in Baltimore did you grow up?
I was East Baltimore, so I was around like Memorial Stadium where the Orioles played like originally, and
yeah, dude.
Charm City, man. You have friends, man. You see stuff, man. I went over to this dude's house that was cutting my hair. He lifted up his couch. He was like, "Hey, I want to show you something." Has a whole arsenal in his couch. Now I'm seeing like the most weaponry I've ever seen in my life live, and it's just, this is every day for people.
Yeah, it's. I was saying that, this is a weird thing. I just lost a buddy who had like fucked his whole life up from drugs, and so he had to move back home. And then he was like fine for years, but then he started using again, and he died because he was living at home. And I was like, and I started thinking, it was like, people were like, I don't understand why I would use again. I go, no, it makes perfect sense. And that's why there's people like, when you talk about people living in Baltimore that either deal drugs or in gangs or whatever, downtown LA, whatever the fuck it is, it's like, he fucked up his life through drugs, so he moved home, and then when he moved home, he did drugs because he had fucked up his life from drugs. It's the snake eating itself. Does that make sense? Do you know what I mean? Like, people, do you watch The Wire? Of course you're going to sell drugs if you're in Baltimore, dude. It's not made for successful. Like, it's a crazy town where there's like, dude, DC, Baltimore, my heart, I love those areas. I never got fucked with living in, like, when I went out partying, I never got fucked with. It wasn't until I got to LA. That was when I had a lot of shit happen to me. Actually, it's not true. I had a gun pulled on me by a guy in Germantown, but I was a fucking idiot. We were walking out of my buddy Greg's house to go smoke a joint, and these dudes came out and they were like, "What are y'all doing?" And I was so young, I was like, "About to smoke this weed." And then he was like, "Let me see that." And me like an idiot, fucking goes, "Okay." And then he pulled a gun and he was like, "It's my weed now." And I go, "Yes, it is. All right, goodbye. I'll see you later, buddy."
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, get smart, man. You got to get smart. But yeah, it's really, it's like, living in a place like Baltimore, man, it's Charm City for a reason, but it's hard, man.
It opens up your awareness too, So like when I'm anywhere in the world, like head is always on a swivel because that's where I came from. So it just lets you know, like, all right, play it safe, be wise, understand stuff, and
yeah,
I mean, it helped. It helped.
Sure.
Yeah, there's advantages.
Adam, what? Because I see like some of the other stuff that we have here. It's like what comes around. They hated it. They Ad Rock said it sucks. He says it's the worst song on the record.
They knew it too.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not my favorite either. But I mean, ultimately, dude, and then you have a medley. Like they end it, track 15 is just fucking what A through I of different pieces of music. I mean, that's
fun.
Yeah, no, that's awesome,
Yeah.
dude. I mean, to go from like what I love is, and I'm gonna pull the quote up with Mike Portnoy, because we're gonna wrap this up in a second. Mike Portnoy is the drummer in a band called Dream Theater. You ever heard of them? They're real white boy music. It's like they sing about dragons and it's very like, and the lizard flies in the devil's roar, but it's like they're shredding on guitars right. Say what? Wait, what did you say, Adam?
3-minute songs sometimes, like one track.
Love them.
21. I'm not a big fan. I just know about them.
I didn't mean to insult you by saying they're huge. You love
what
them.
You gonna do? What you gonna do?
Dude, I'm telling you, after I met Mike Portnoy, I started fucking with him hard, dude. Like it's fun gym music, dude. It is fun gym music. Adam's more of a Pearl Jam guy.
Metallica.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's my number.
Metallica's number one.
Seen them 38 times.
38?
39 and 40 coming up in a couple of weeks.
Real fan.
I've seen Billy Joel in the last 4 years 17 times.
Not anymore, sadly.
I know, but that's why I say to everybody, man, go see the people that you want to see now. Don't wait. Don't wait.
I saw Sexy Red.
I saw Sexy Red at Irving Plaza. It was the worst hip hop show I've ever seen in my life.
Oh man, I was at Rolling Loud. I don't know how, and I was there, and it wasn't for me.
She is. I here's the thing. I have a lot of hookups here in New York. They played at a club that I can get into. I called when you ask for one ticket, you can get into anything. You know what I mean? When you ask, that's when you're like, can I get 4?
Yeah, that's
like I'm going. Like I'm like Jim Jeffries is busting my balls because we're going to see Oasis in England, and I got us tickets to one of the shows, but then another friend is hooking us up with another set of tickets so we can go to see 2 nights, and another friend wanted. It was like it's like, oh, I think I'm gonna go there too, and so I was like nicely like, oh, let me, he's like, maybe I can link up, and I hit up Jim, and Jim's like, do you know how hard it was for me to get these tickets, Josh? Like, dude, I love you, but. And now they're all just busting my balls. They're like, hey Jim, we've got a family of Koreans that are refugees that are staying in my house. Can they come? And I was like, all right, guys, I get it. But I went to go see Sexy Red. I just got back from that fucking Jelly Roll tour, and it was crazy.
Let me state for the record.
Please state for the record.
For the record, she was great. And when I say it wasn't for me, I mean because everyone else at the concert was like 21, 22, but she's on stage giving a show. She did a split, she's walking the catwalk, she's hitting you with the hits. So she did her thing. Not for me, is just when I looked around, man, like it's a bunch of kids,
Yeah. She's
like
singing about
Lauryn
buttholes
Hill
and pussy.
concert. Yeah. That it wasn't Lauryn Hill wasn't there and Erykah Badu, it was
who?
It was.
By the way, I saw Erykah twice on her last tour, and I had better seats than Gerard Carmichael.
Hey, you turned around and you saw him back there. Is that what happened?
Dude, he was walking. I got a ticket. I got a good seat. I was like 4 rows from the front.
That's
and
funny,
I love Erykah. I think she's. I love her. I love everything about Erykah Badu. Right. One of my favorite moments of the pandemic was Erykah Badu, Jill Scott verses. Do you remember that when they were doing those verses online, dude? Those were the best. Right. But that one was special because that one was like, dude, that's the thing about why I love the Beastie Boys even more now is, the lyrics, it changed into love and perspective. And you know what I mean? you can listen to, music that'll amp you up to get ready for like a UFC fight. You can listen to gym music and you can listen to music to chill, but there's nothing that moves me. A great movie, oh my God. I'll get emotional, but music, dude.
Yeah.
And then actually watching that documentary, dude, when they explained that their last show at Bonnaroo, they had no idea was their last show. It's just tore me up. And it's a beautiful thing. And so going to see Erica, dude, she just put on such a good show. And then Gerard kind of walked by and go, "Hey, what's up?" And he sees me. And then the usher was like, "No, you're back there, Gerard." And he looked at where I was and he was like,
"That's funny."
But that's the thing. But Mike Portnoy came on the podcast, and he is a one of the most respected drummers in the fucking land. He's one of my. This is why I love doing this too. Is like, dude, I was not feeling. I haven't felt good for a few days, man. I've really been like just going through this detox, and which is eventually I'm gonna be. I'll get the pink cloud and I'll get out of it, and endorphins will come back and all that good stuff. But I was not looking forward to this today. Not because I didn't want to talk to you, just having to be in public or even see
it. Right.
But this is why I love doing this show, is because this has been the highlight of my fucking week right now. I had so much fun talking about it. And that's the thing, is that's why we're 3 years away from this being done, Adam. You know that, right?
Yep.
It's crazy. I've almost quit this show so many times, Mike. And then it's like Senator Al Franken was the one that was like, you can't stop. You're already halfway through. And I get to talk to cool people like you, dude. I've always known you, but it's like be able to sit down. This has been so much fun, man.
Yeah, it's really great.
Having Portnoy on, who is a rock heavy metal drummer, and him doing Elton John. What was it? Elton John and the Brown Captain Fantastic. What is it? I don't remember the album title, but it's got what's the song that's on there that's really popular? Somebody Saved My Life Tonight. I think that's what it is. But it's just, you would never expect Mike Portnoy to come on here. And we started going through our favorite records. And I told him some ones that were coming up. And I said, well, Paul's Boutique's coming up. And he goes, oh my God. And I go, you know what? Well, how about this? I'll send you the list of the records that we got coming up. And if any of them are some of your favorites, write a little blurb for me. And so this is what he wrote about Paul's Boutique. One of my top 10 albums of all time, the Sgt. Pepper of hip hop. What MCA, Mike D, and Ad Rock created here, along with the Dust Brothers, is an absolute sonic masterpiece. The depth and the layers of samples is mind-blowing, and I still find a new hidden nugget in the production 36 years and 1,000 listens later. This was a total game changer. And I think that is a perfect sum up of this record, is that it's really artists being artists and utilizing what been inside of them, and realizing that, if you continue down that same path, you're never going to grow. So yeah, dude, I'm glad I got to do this today, because this really fucking made me feel good. Adam, is there anything that we've missed that we got to talk about? I don't want to like fuck up and be like, you forgot to say this, this, and this.
Oh, you covered it good. You did it justice.
There it is.
I got through it, dude. All right, this is the final wrap up. Promote away before we get into the final questions, Mike. What do you have going on?
Oh,
we're gonna do it at the beginning and end too, anyway. So, but what, anything you want us to make sure we shout out?
Yeah. I'm going to Punchline Houston, June 26th to 28th. New special coming out soon on. Listen to this, on Dry Bar. I dropped some of those squeakies. You're gonna
get like 10 million views on that. You know that, brother. So good for you, dude. Yeah, good for you.
Yeah, right. So between that and listen up if you're looking for Step Fans and Chill. That's my pod that I drop a few times a week. And yeah, man, it's something checking. All it is rants. I'm just kind of ranting on. I just gotta speak sometimes to get stuff off my chest, or it just bottles up and builds up. Yeah.
Trust me, it's this podcast is something that I am, when we're said and done, I'm going to be I am very proud of this. I think the work that we put on with this podcast, man, some episodes like this and like I said, the Portnoy or whatever, we just had so many great, like real conversations about life and music. So it's they're the two most beautiful things in the world. So when you combine them,
it takes you back to those times,
It does, dude. All right. I ask everybody these questions. I'm gonna ask you the same ones. What's your favorite song on this record?
Favorite song on this record is Car Thief.
Car Thief.
And it felt like, it just felt like that part two to, looking down the barrel, and it connected and it hits. I feel like it could still hit now if it was to
It
drop
does.
in the night when I'm in the club or something.
It does. Is there anything on this album you skip over?
I skip over that last track. It's not even a song. It's just telling you the address.
Sure.
How to get to the boutique. Yeah.
Totally. Can you fuck to this record?
Can you? No, it's a little too distracting. I think
There's
it's
too
one
many
of those
samples.
ones where you're like, oh man, I want to hear what he just said on that one. So that'll, unless I'm trying not to like come quick, then I'll tune into it so I can last longer.
Yeah. I don't know if I would fuck to this record. The Beastie Boys are just there's not a sexiness to it. You know what I mean?
No, you might be too aggressive.
Yeah. I know people probably fuck to the Beastie Boys. I just don't think I can. What would be your way of the way that Portnoy summed it up? How would you elevator pitch to get someone to listen to this record? What would you say to them?
Oh, I would tell them that this is groundbreaking in a way where you're hearing some of the best sound collab with, you know, some guys, man, who are just like putting you in a moment of time. And I think right then and there is it.
I love it. And I love that this wasn't a hit for them when it came out and it took years for it to get appreciated. That's the power. It's like, it's the power of what our social media is like. We're posting clips every day, getting like 5,000 views, and then one goes and then they all go.
Yeah.
Please, God, go for me. I want to add shows. I'm sick of cutting shows. Please, I just want to add a show.
We're adding shows.
We're adding shows.
2026, we're adding.
2026, 2025 is I gotta build a solid foundation.
No, both.
But
It could happen tonight.
well, tonight
Yeah.
I'm going back. I'm gonna go take a shit after this because my stomach still hurts, dude. I went crazy on Uber Eats last night, guys. I've been
Yeah.
eating for like 5 days. Dude, dude, this is like, I'm telling you, man, like this Kratom shit, the fact that this is legal, there's a new kind out there that's legal Oxy 80s. And it's sold completely just like as like a supplement. And it was just, once you're an addict, dude, you're always an addict. And that's me. And that's the one beautiful thing that I'm at least smart enough to realize. And if it wasn't for the support system of people that I have in my life, I mean, you know, it wasn't going to kill me. It just draining money. You know what I mean? And you know what's the most valuable thing? And I know you know this because, you know, you're a father, right?
Yes.
You have a wife. Time, having your own time is the most valuable thing ever. Not having to do a job you don't want to have to do. Yeah, you'll do the gig out there for the paycheck. But if you can just enjoy your life, that's the most important thing. So
it really is.
It really is, dude. Mike, this has been such a pleasure, dude. I'm really happy that you came on today, man.
Hey,
Please come back.
No, absolutely. It's been a pleasure. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.